Meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. This meeting is being held in open session in accordance with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, and business as conducted by the board will be done so in open session. Each regular session will be opened with a prayer and pledges to the flag. All persons in attendance are welcome and free to participate or not at their personal discretion. So to join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Father in heaven, we ask for your wisdom as we begin this meeting, and we welcome your presence among us. Guide us in our discussions and decisions, helping us to seek what is best for all involved. We trust in your perfect wisdom and ask that you direct our meeting according to your will. Amen.
And thank you.
Thank you.
All right, brings us to agenda item number 1, administrating the oath of office to Mr. Johnson.
Yes. Well, that's the anti-bribery one. So we need to. Before. And then you can do that one later. This is the oath. And you can read along. I'm gonna say it out loud and you can say it out loud after me, but I'm using the words on that paper. So. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas.
I, Rob Johnson,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office of the ComalAD Appraisal District Board of
of
Directors
the office of the ComalAD Appraisal District Board of Directors
of the state of Texas,
of the state of Texas,
and will do the best,
and will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
protect and defend
the Constitution and
the
laws
Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this
and
state,
of this state,
so help me
so
God.
help me God.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So you can sign that one
Okay.
and this one. Yeah.
You need one.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, brings us to agenda item number 2, citizens communications. Does anyone wish to address the board? Give our new folks, anyone want to address the board? Somebody coming in yet?
That's your husband.
Yes.
He doesn't want to address the board.
Okay. All right, in that case, we'll move to agenda item number 3, which is tax code section 615 communications. It's an opportunity for board members to bring up anything that they think would be of interest to the entire board. Does anyone have any thoughts or comments they'd like to share? Okay, moving on to agenda item number 4, we have a presentation on service awards to our campus today. 25 years. Come on up here.
So Bob, she has a 15-year pin and a 5-year pin, so she just needs another 5-year pin to go with it, correct?
Yeah, I actually have a 20 and a
She's got
5,
20.
I was 25.
Okay, I knew I had it somewhere.
We had the opportunity to know Dora for a number of years, basically through the appraisal review board process.
Yes.
And just thank you for all of that, because there were several times that I can still recall when your expertise was needed and basically saved everybody's bacon and some of this here. Still remember trying to figure out how many miles and acres of roads we had in some subdivision, and discussions about meets and bounds, and I mean, all this kind of stuff that simply makes the rest of our heads explode. But Dora somehow found a way to handle all of that. So on behalf of the board and all the staff, I'd like to present you with your 25-year pin.
Should be too. Thank you.
So now you can get.
Yeah, family would give his photo.
Yeah, make sure you show your pin.
It only happens every 25 years.
Would you want that?
This if we miss, that's what it is.
Okay.
You been on vacations?
No.
All right. Family. Hey, Dora. Thank you.
All right, Dora, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
Yeah. The Asian photo. Yeah. There you go.
Nothing, Dora?
I just really like this organization. I've liked it from the beginning, and even with chain of command, it's just gotten better.
Well, I want to continue the John Tyler tradition. What was your best moment?
Best moment had to be on the 12th of this month. And I was giving my party. Yeah, it was very nice. I wanted to thank everybody for the food and the presents and the flower arrangements. I really appreciate everything.
Very good. Thank you. All right, let's move on to agenda item number 5. Approval of minutes from January 13th, 2026 regular meeting. Anyone have any comments or any corrections?
I do. Thanks to Mr. Alvarez on 9F. The date on there has been corrected from January of 2025 to January of 2026. It's not in your packet, but we have updated those minutes.
So the ones we will sign will be correct.
I'm gonna say it again now.
The ones in your packet are incorrect. It says 2025, but the ones that you will sign say 2026 on 9F.
On the map review.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
So moved.
So moved. Yes, Sam? Mr. Alvarez, seconded by Mr. Case Brown. All in favor, any last discussion? All in favor, indicate by saying aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, moving on to agenda, item 6 is the taxpayer license report. Which got for us, Kurt?
All right, next chart, please. Starting out, formal complaints, 0 over the last period. Now, the data that I give you today will be based on everything that's leading up to today from the last time I addressed you, which was the 9th of December. So from that time till now, no formal complaints, no limited binding arbitration. Just in the way of a reminder, there's more than one kind of arbitration. This is not the kind of arbitration where they're upset with their property value. This is our arbitration that says that some kind of procedure was broken or improperly applied. And we're none of those. Trends, I always kind of give you a snapshot as to some things that we're seeing. And what we're beginning to see as we go out and do our taxpayer workshops that we'll talk about more in a minute. There's a lot of I would say confusion or just kind of starting to get to know these new things called MUDs and PIDs and ESPs and other things. I've got a follow-on chart while I'll break it down a little bit, but most people know that their taxes go to pay for roads, especially, police, fire department, and schools. But MUDs, PIDs, and so on are not so well understood. And what you have is that people assume that is the Stuart here. People assume that they can go to his office and get an answer to any kind of question about any kind of tax. So that's actually not true. With the advent of municipal utility districts and water improvement districts and all that, that has changed. And they can actually tax people, even if they have, let's say you've got a veteran that has a DVHS, which is a 100% property exemption. He's still going to pay a MUD or a WID, and they're not insignificant, and they don't go away quickly either. That's another misunderstanding, is that people assume, well, we're just paying for the water infrastructure when that's established. will stop paying, and that isn't necessarily true and doesn't tend to be the case. Property owner engagements, says December 9th, 367. That's a little bit less than traditional. Remember that's December 9th, so its holiday period is in there, went down a little bit. But all issues were addressed and resolved. We got contacted by Karen Ridge in New Braunfels, where their finance office and their office specifically is responsible for tracking short-term rentals and making sure that people that decided to offer up their homes as like Airbnbs, for instance, that they pay hot taxes, which is high occupation is a hotel occupancy taxes. They made contact with us so they could connect to Phil Day and our BPP team and kind of get a little synergy in terms of like what they show as people that are doing Airbnbs and what we show short-term rentals. And I think that's a good synergy. And so they kind of went back and forth, corrected each other's records based on what they knew, because sometimes people move away, they decide no longer to do business. And so I think we have a good synergy going between us and them. Now, obviously, New Braunfels won't have visibility beyond their borders, but still, it's information that we didn't have previously. This is an important change, and it doesn't just impact us down at the here in New Braunfels or here in New Comal County, but across the United States. So the U.S. Postal Office has decided that postmarking, which has always been our evidence that something was turned in, is going to change. We used to be able to say, hey, you got a postmark? That was the day you turned it in. Well, now you can't say that anymore, because at the end of this of 2025, the post office said, we're going to postmark things when we process them. What does that mean? I would tell you that the average right now, having done a little research, is 3 to 5 days after they receive a piece of mail. It could be less, but the average is 3 to 5 days. So right now, I would tell you there's a lot of organizations, not just appraisal districts, not just tax offices, which are grappling with, now that the post office has done this. Traditionally, we've always used the postmark as proof that they put it in by the deadline. Now what? I will tell you, as of this moment right now, it's still kind of being worked with. The out of the back to the BPP folks, they put into place the last time we talked a process which simplifies and streamlines the process for organizations to put in their annual BPP rendition. And it used to be they pretty much had to either carry it in, put it in the mail hard copy, or take a snapshot of it or scan it and send it in by email. Now they can go online. They can and it'll take them through a series of questions, which kind of makes it easier for them to understand. They answer all the questions at the end. It generates a PDF document. They can store it and have a copy for themselves. It really is a step forward. So I'm going to talk a little bit about these tax workshops that we do every spring. We got 2 of them behind us now. The first one, VFW, they've got about a 500-person organization. Only about probably 30 to 50 showed up, but that's still a fair number of people. Corridor Title was the first one that we did after that. That's located right next to Miller Insurance. Then we got a large number of people from the realtor community, the mortgage community and title community going to that one. Next chart. Okay, so the green color simply means that the dates have been deconflicted with everybody, hosts, presenters, and whatnot. So our next one will be on the 4th of March at Veramendi. We did go to them last year and weren't originally planning to go out again, but they said, hey, we're really growing fast. We really liked your presentation last year. A lot of people want to see it again, and the ones that haven't seen it would like to see it for the first time. So we're accommodating them on the 4th of March at Veramendi. You'll see in the middle here, kind of a cross section, Pilgrim Title and First American Mortgage. There's a couple of those. Traditionally, in the past, what happens is they kind of advertise out to all their clients. And we get people from just about every title and mortgage company in town who will be going to those presentations. Four Rivers Association of Realtors. We've been in that location before, but this is the first time that they have individually invited us. Keller Williams we go to just about every year. So between all those 3 or 4, we will talk to a major cross section of the realtors, mortgage companies, and title companies in town. Now, why is it important for them? Well, if you're a realtor, for instance, you're probably going to be approached by clients that want help with their comp sales because most people don't have MLS access, multiple listing service access. So when they're trying to put together their argument, say for an informal discussion about their property value or ARV, they have to have normally comp sales, comparative sales that demonstrate what their home should be priced at or market price should be because of similar houses. And so they'll come to the realtors for that. So it's good for them to understand what their clients are looking for. Bulverde Landowners, that is an organization, the first time we worked with them, they do a lot of POA and HOA work with places like Bulverde Hills, Bulverde Estates, and others. So I'll show you a cross section at the end about how we categorize the various organizations we're working with. We did 11 of them last year. We're doing 15 of them this year. Okay, let's see. Rotary Club. We went to Lions Club last year. Rotary said, "Hey, we heard you did a good job. We'd like you to come talk to us." That's about 150 people that will be at that presentation. Next chart. Okay, then we move on to Copper Canyon. That's we have never done there before. Cascada, in the bottom there, that's another neighborhood. That'll be a first time for us. There are two of them on this chart that are open to the general public: Ty Preston Library in Canyon Lake and the New Braunfels Main Library on Common Street. There's another one that has not been finalized. It will probably be in the first 2 weeks of May, and that'll be at the sheriff's office. So in total, we'll have 3 that are for the general public. And I did make contact with Herald Zeitung, and they will run an article, which I will write, and they will probably edit and publish, talking about those 3 locations and what they can expect to hear when they go there. Next. This is kind of breaking down the organizations that I just told you about. The yellow ones are still pending, meaning the dates haven't been figured out yet. But this is so real estate, title and mortgage, neighborhoods, clubs and service organizations, and the general public. Next. This is a typical flyer that we send out. People seem to be happy to get this because they can send it out and kind of market it themselves. I was kind of impressed that the information, they give us the information to put on here, like the stuff upper right hand corner. 3 years ago, Ty Preston hosted one, and it was so popular that they sold out. Well, I don't say sold out. They lost. There were no more seats almost immediately. So they said, "Well, we're going to go ahead and demand that people register because we need to make sure we have enough chairs." So this ought to be a good one. Usual suspects there at the bottom. Okay, I talked to you a little bit about taxing entities. I wanted to point out that this list may not be completely exhaustive, but you can see a large number of municipal utility districts or MUDs on the right. Let's see, it's on the right hand. Or let's see, no, the WIDs are on the right hand side. The water improvement districts, MUDs bottom left. ESDs, they're in the left hand side. There is also one that's not on here. It's a PID. There are not that many PIDs, public improvement districts in Texas, but we do have one here in Comal County. It's called the Crossings, and it's on 1102, right across from Havenwood, north of town. Public improvement district is focused on landscape, parks, and things of that nature, more amenities driven. Whereas water and municipal tend to be a lot of infrastructure, like water related and things of that nature. Next chart. Okay, so I borrowed this from a chart that Stuart's office put together. You got the ESDs over the right hand side, and as I said earlier, most people understand that their tax is going to go to cover police, fire, and emergency services. These other ones are still kind of new, and I already kind of talked about it, but it gives you a little bit of a difference as to how they break down and how they're different. Again, just in the way of repeating it, what really kind of is a little bit concerning is it when they come with a question about why did I get taxed for this month thing, or why am I getting a water improvement tax bill? Our tax office really can't other than connecting them with the right people, they can't answer out of their own office information. Next chart. Okay, staffing for the ERB remains the same. We have 16 total positions, and there are 16 that are currently full. Next. Okay. Front desk cards. 56, and they're all enclosed in your package if you'd like to take a look. Again, our front desk ladies are really knocking it out of the park and setting the standard. I just took a couple of examples of some of the comments. Courtesy, professional service, very good. Very good is the top rated, by the way. Courteous, helpful, friendly, awesome, promote this person, made the process so easy. That's the kind of thing that we love to see. And so delighted that we can have such turnover at the front desk in terms of new people coming on, other people moving. We've had people move on to become appraisers. We've had other people decide to do something else with their life, and still the standard is very, very high. Other feedback. So we only had 2 email/letters. One was from Alinda Del Cambre, very positive. She talked about Jennifer Snyder, who works at our BBP office, and very knowledgeable and helpful. And obviously, she's awesome. A lot of great words. The second one was a little bit puzzling, and usually people want to talk to you about their own problem. Ms. Rethman said, as you come into the spring, basically, and and you're deciding what the new rates will be, the new market values will be, please keep in mind that things have been changing over the last couple of years. I hope that the CAD will, I hope that the CAD will take that into consideration. So sent her a very detailed letter, and it is in your package, because I want you to say we really do take these seriously. And gave them a real good rundown on how property values are determined. And she actually wrote back and seemed very appreciative. So again, so we do pay attention to this. Next one. Okay, there were no IRB surveys. That's because the IRB only met for 5 days during this period. And oddly, no CAD online surveys. I saw that usually we have at least 5. And when I saw that, we looked into it a little bit, with the help of Michelle and Ryan, and found out that we think sometime back in December, there was some kind of IT hiccup that stopped the ability of the CAD's webpage to take images. Ryan and Michelle, worked together. They addressed it. They fixed it. And I think Michelle sent an example, report through the system, and it went through, so it has been resolved. Next, okay. I usually talk a little bit about some customer issues. Mr. Colgan wrote about, he has a fairly large number of properties, and he really was upset that he can't sell his properties at the appraised values, and they're too high. Of course, that's not the first time we've heard that kind of thing. But the interesting thing is that Mr. Colgan's, he waited until the entire protest season was over with before he wrote this. So all of his properties have been adjudicated by either the ARB, or I guess no. In his case, it was all of them were resolved in informal. So the reason that's important is that means when he hired Ownwell as his agent, Ownwell decided that they were going to resolve these one-on-one during the informal process. That means that they never thought that they were so egregious that they needed to take it to the next higher step, which was the ARB. So as politely as possible, we kind of wrote back and said, sir, you hired this organization called Ownwell, and you're telling us that you're upset. Please have the first discussion with your own agent. I don't think people always understand when they appoint an agent how much power they really give them, but they certainly do. Next. Okay, you already had the opportunity to speak to Dora this morning, but in addition to her 25 years, you should know that she got her RPA in 2022 and the prestigious Foxhole Award in 2023. She started out here in customer service, answering phone calls and filing documents, moved up to data entry, and then moved over to kind of where she is now in mapping and deed transfers. She's a second generation New Braunfels from a military family, spent time in Fort Sam Houston, went to school in Okinawa, Japan, and spent time on military bases in Fort Leavenworth and Omaha, Nebraska. Married for 43 years. She and her husband raised 3 beautiful daughters and 4 grandchildren. Interests are spending time with family, attending concerts, traveling, visiting places I've never heard of, Kickapoo and Kusata, but I will finally for those. Florida is one of her favorite vacation destinations. Dora, I know you already talked. Anything else you'd like to say? Okay. All right, next please. Okay, moving on to Sue Ellis. Sue Ellis joined the CAB in 2022. She achieved her level 3 appraiser status. Has worked throughout her career in all aspects of commercial and residential roofing. And she has an associate's degree, in fact, in residential construction, married for 22 years with 5 children and 8 grandchildren, and she likes quilting. Sue Ellis, anything you'd like to say?
We also love Sue Ellis here.
Good, all right. Next. Going over to the ARB side, Juanita Weller is here with her family. And you see that previously, she worked for the IRS with tax, time coming up. This might be interesting to talk to somebody who worked in collections, and maybe we can learn about how that works. She also has an education through a BA in biology and history from Trinity and MBA from Texas State up the street. Family, she was married for 42 years, has had a double wedding. I thought that was interesting, with her twin sister. 17 nieces and nephews, my goodness. And 40-year season passes to the Aggie football team. Likes listening to live music, reading, and traveling. Anything you'd like to say?
Oh. Thank you for giving me a moment. Yeah,
Sure.
I'd just like to say, I've spent my career 40 years in civil service. When I retired, moved here to the Hill Country, built our forever home. My husband Ralph's here with me, and didn't take but about a year to be retired. Got a little bored, and I thought, it'd be fun to do something more interesting in the community. And so I've been honored to be part of the ARB for the last few years. I've really enjoyed meeting so many people from the community. I have to say, so impressed with the staff that you have, part of the appraisal district. Everybody here is very professional, well-trained, very courteous, just an excellent job. And it's an honor for me to be part of the team. So appreciate that, and appreciate working with Kurt and John Cox on the team. So thank you for giving me a moment to put a name and a face together. Appreciate
Well, thank you for your service. We appreciate you too.
it. My pleasure.
I know it can sometimes be difficult.
Well, having worked for the IRS, I'm kind of.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's always a long list of questions, right? But I actually worked with electronic filing most of my career, so all of the e-filing you do with your individual returns, we also do the corporate returns, and nonprofit organizations can e-file. So, you know, I was really pleased. Part of my legacy was for the individuals was bringing in the amended tax returns electronically. That was a big challenge for the IRS, so. I do miss it, but this has been a great opportunity to get back to the community here in Comal County, so.
Okay,
Like
thank you for your
Thank
service.
you.
Concludes my presentation.
I got a couple questions for you. The meetings that you're having on the real estate. Are we covering things like when they go over taxes with people? I mean, I can't, again, this goes back to my ARV days. How many cases we have where people come in and say, well, I thought the taxes were gonna be this much, and you know, a lot of times it's because it's a capped over 65 and the cap no longer applies. And, you know, it's no longer $2,000, it's now $4,000. They're in like sticker shock. And then the second thing, and maybe Jeffrey, you can help me out. There's a form that you get from the tax assessor collector that says all taxes have been paid,
Yes,
which takes care of any potential problems with omitted property.
tax certificate.
Yeah, tax certificate, and I've always thought that that should be a mandatory piece of paper at closing. That gets everybody off the hook, and again, you don't see it a lot, but
Tax searcher's not on every closing.
yeah, but they don't.
So you may be talking about a tax service fee, which is different. So tax service fee is the fee that, or it's a service that's done by an independent company to ensure that the tax bill actually gets to where it's supposed to be going at the next deal. They're the ones who make sure that the transition's done. But tax certificates are required in every transaction.
But apparently there was been a problem that the tax certificate that they're given is not originated in the tax assessor collector's office. And unless it's originated in the tax assessor collector's office, when they come in here to protest their property, we're not allowed to accept that. It's got to be a document that came from the tax assessor collector's office, not from a third party. And I remember specifically a case involving this.
I don't know that I've ever seen one that's produced by a tax
And
assessor.
I don't know what the other ones look like. I went down and got one on my property just to kind of see it. There was like a $5 fee, I think, for it or something like that. Matthew, you know what I'm talking
No,
about?
absolutely, and you're both right. The tax office will give you a tax certificate, which is a document that the tax assessor collector's office generates, which lets you know that at the time it has been issued, there's no taxes that are owed on the property. When you buy a piece of property and you go through a title company, they certainly run a check to make sure that all the taxes have been paid. But typically, they do not get an actual tax certificate from the tax assessor collector's office. They hire a company to run the search for them. And then within your closing documents, there will be a document that purports to be a tax certificate, except it doesn't come from the tax assessor collector. And last time I bought a piece of property, I demanded with all my authority that the title company get me a real tax certificate from the TAC's office for the same reason Mr. Sluppick did. And they told me they would not do that. And I did exactly what Mr. Sluppick did on my way to the closing. I stopped by the TAC office, I paid the fee, and I got my.
Right, because that covers you if, to make sure nothing's been unpaid based on what the appraisal district knows the property to be. if a piece of property is discovered to have a new building on it or an extension, it goes under the omitted property category, and that's not covered by that certificate.
And actually, in the last legislative session, they've expanded it. So if you buy a property and you have a tax certificate and they later determine the prior owner had an erroneously allowed homestead, that tax certificate will now protect the new buyer from
Right.
having to pay on those erroneously allowed
Because-
exemptions.
I've seen the real estate side of this providing information that's kind of similar to how I look at our front desk people. When they provide the correct information to the property owner, things just go more smoothly. And I'm hoping that we're maybe talking about some of this when we meet with the realtor side of the house.
So
To help
tax
us.
certificates and stuff, we don't go into that much depth. Basically, we give an overview, your rights to protest, how we determine a value. Those are the processes we educate everybody on, not in-depth unique situations
Well,
like
I
that.
mean,
Now, if they have a question and it's something specific afterwards, we definitely inform them what they need.
I wanna go after, when you go to, like the general public or the homeowners association, only when you're specifically dealing with those realtors. And I kind of put it under the category, we need your help. And, the more accurate information you can put out, then when the taxes look low, there's a reason for that. This guy has got a homestead on his property, he's been over 65 and he's paying taxes based on his value 25 years ago. So when you get your tax bill, it's gonna be significantly different. And then the same thing with this idea about omitted property and the tax certificate coming from the right source. I mean, I just think that could be helpful to folks that are buying property.
So it was a little bit new going out with the group, but if I recall, it was Kristen used to take a laptop with her, and when we got done, she would stand there, and as people filed up with questions, she would bring up their account on her Truth and Taxation website, I guess. And a screen would come up and would say how much you owed, how much you paid, how much you owed each year. And at that moment, it would tell you if it was paid or if it wasn't.
Right.
Okay, that's
Okay.
all I had. Anything else? All right.
I do, but Kurt, let me ask you one question, and I really don't think you're gonna know the answer, but I don't know who to ask. Is there, or Matthew, maybe you, with these muds and pits and everything that are showing up right now, winds. My specific question is actually in regards to the ESDs. Is there a limit on what they can collect for reserves?
Don't think there's a limit on what they can collect for reserves, but I think normally the ESDs do have a limit on what the overall tax rate
Yeah,
that they can charge is, which is usually in their creation documents. But if they get 10 cents and they only need 3 cents and they want to save the 7 cents, I think they can do that.
Well, here's my issue, is that we have ESDs that were strictly raising their budgets off of property taxes. That saw an opportunity to swoop in and take sales tax. And now they're taking, sales tax and still collecting property tax. And I mean, ESD 7, mine, grew their reserves from 300,000 annually to over 3 million annually.
yeah,
And all they do is contract the city of New Braunfels to provide fire and EMS.
there's a number of ESDs that have large reserves, as I understand it. And I think you're right. I mean, there's like an 8-cent cap or something like that on the tax rate. And they can't go over that, but I mean, I know I've had this discussion because ESD 2, which is one of mine, has had a sales tax for a number of years. And what I wish the state would do is require of them, just like they require of counties, to adjust their property tax rate based on the amount of income that they're getting from sales tax. But when I went down and questioned them about the large reserve, here's what I got told. And so they said, well, we've got a 5-year plan. We gotta replace ambulances on this base, an ambulance, I think at that time was $200,000 or $250,000 equipped. We gotta replace fire trucks are running $2, $3, $4, $5 million. And so we're building that money up, so that we can pay mainly cash for it without having to take loans or something like that. So that's the answer I got when I asked them about this huge We served, I think we're
I'm
growing.
not sure I've asked, but I've not gotten an answer because the SD7 contracts with the city of New Braunfels.
Well, seven is a special.
And so, yeah, I mean, which actually caused a problem for, when they were developing Barramundi. Because they kind of slid that in and, Barramundi was trying to do the bid. Kind of messed things up, they had to work through that, but I don't know, I just personally think it's theft. I think you can put that in minutes.
Anything else for Mr. Anderson? All right, let's move on to, agenda item number 7, chief appraiser's report. Jeffrey, what do you got for us, sir?
So first one's property value study. Those results did come out. They are still preliminary results. The two school districts that the appraisal district is tested in is Comal and NDISD. So the preliminary numbers for Comal overall, we're at 99.231%. And then for NDISD, we were at 98.5%. So right between our 95 and 105% where we need to be. So
Well, that's excellent. I mean, I know we asked you to kind of tighten those numbers up, and it looks like they tightened up. Now, I did see one thing in there about agricultural land or something.
So we did have an issue with that this year. It doesn't really affect the overall.
Right.
I mean, our productivity values are based off of lease information, and the comptroller uses additional information that we didn't have. Usually we reach out to them every year.
It's not so.
And we reach out to them every year, and we did this year. They have changed administrations and they didn't reach back to us to help adjust it. So they just left it at what they originally came up with. So that is lower than it normally is. Usually it's right at 99%. So. Moving on our maps review, the representative from the comptroller's office did come to our office, went through our records and audited everything. Out of the 78 questions, we got all of them right except for one. The one that is not right, we didn't get wrong, it's pending. It is in regards to arbitration filing. Actually, Ryan brought this up. They asked how we file our arbitration, but we don't do that anymore. The property owner does on the comptroller's website. So she wanted to ask her supervisor how to mark that question. So we're just waiting on that answer back. So. Any questions?
Oh, done well here.
Auditor came in at the end of January for our financial audit. Everything went very smooth. As of now, it doesn't look like any journal entries that'll need to be done. So they will present that audit in April. So.
Pam's the keeper of the books, right?
Yes, sir.
Pass on our appreciation if you would, please.
Absolutely. Next thing I have is the appraisal district salary schedule. I started this early so everybody could kind of get an overview. This is our 2026 approved salary schedule. This went into effect, I want to say back in 2022. We developed this schedule we went from bands to a step schedule. Each step is a 3% increase from year to year. As long as there's no reprimand or issues with that employee, they get that step. And then from year to year, the board does approve a COLA, and we budget up to a 3% COLA, and the schedule is adjusted by what the COLA is to maintain the schedule moving forward. I have it on the agenda for any comments, any questions, any discussion that y'all may have.
Well, I'd like to see us put in the budget for next year, 27, salary review, hiring an outside company to take a look at that would do that.
Okay.
And be expanded beyond just other appraisal districts. However they do that, come up with jobs, that kind of stuff. So we can talk about that at budget time and what we think something like that might be, what that might cost. I mean, I just started by, the pay raises that have been given over time. I'll give you an idea, since we did this, it's been 6, 7.5, 5.5% pay raises, between a 3% step increase and then COLAs that the board has put up. So that's kind of the history of what we've done. To me, it seems a little high, maybe. Don't know for sure because I'm kind of old and out of touch with what goes on in the employment world. I have seen some data that Jeffrey provided me on looking at the appraisal districts. And it seems like we are probably in the zone. I mean, some were at the top of that zone, some, scattered throughout the zone and those other places. I just want to keep looking at it because I feel it's my due diligence and nobody else's. But make sure we're looking at that because ultimately all of this gets paid by the taxpayer. And so that's why I've kind of asked them to do that. I also had a meeting with John, had lunch with him to kind of do some more talking about this, and I'm getting a little more comfortable with the idea that what we're doing is in the mainstream, if you will, of what's going on with salaries. But I want to keep looking at it. I'm not a big fan of chasing salaries. But that's just me. I mean, it's gonna be what the board is gonna want to think about all of this and how it goes. But I just want us to take a kind of look at it, have an outside organization perhaps come in and do a salary study survey for us. And kind of give us a feel for what's going on there in the rest of the world. Maybe not only in appraisal districts, but also, in comparable professional and clerical jobs in other places in the economy. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Sure. I guess just being a new guy, trying to understand some of this, so how is the COLA identified? I mean, how are you determining, is it an index that you're looking at that?
For this COLA,
Mhm.
yeah, look at
It's a
CPI,
CPI.
So you're looking at CPI?
Yes.
right?
And that is what dictates what the board approves? Or are you saying that that COLA is just this adjustment that you make a recommendation for?
No, we can approve any amount between none and 3%. And that would be on top of the normal 3% step increase, right? Yes, sir. So hypothetically, if we gave a full 3% COLA, the employee that year would get a 6% pay raise. It's 3 points.
I just thought I heard you say 7%. I thought you heard.
Well, we did one year where we went above 3%. We went above the 3%.
I got you.
Yes, sir.
So Bob and I do kind of see this differently. I don't see a COLA as a raise. I see a COLA as keeping you where you're sitting today.
Sure.
And so the raise is the 3%. That's kind of one of the, even I talk about it a lot. But I understand it may be a 6% adjustment, but really it's a 3% raise. Give it the 3% cost of living adjustment, which keeps you where you're at. Sure.
If I could add one other thing, the COLA, like I said, it updates the schedule. Where we were in the past, we had these bands and our salaries would just go for years and we wouldn't maintain them. So then we finally do a salary survey and salaries will go through the roof. So that COLA does help maintain the schedule from year to year.
And we went to the schedule because we were using bands, and the bands had no justification. You could have somebody may really, in this be a step 8, never make it less than somebody, it would have been a step 4. They were very arbitrary. So that's why, I mean, spent a lot of time on this. It's not a perfect deal. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the steps, but it was the best solution we had at the time.
Yeah, I guess the thing that I would probably be a fan of, and again, I live in a space that has a lot of similar type roles. And so to me, the market's changed. The market changes dramatically and it changes really quickly. And if you miss those opportunities, you will lose good people. Because there are too many people that do the like type services in and around here that they will steal your personnel all day long. And so when I see a gap of a 2022 salary study versus, we're in 2026, it's a big difference. Now, you've made some of those steps, it sounds like, as you're moving 6%, 7%, it's probably kept you there. Well, close to being there. I just think maybe you set up a frequent cadence of, we're gonna do these every 2 years or every 3 years because the market can move on you fast.
Yeah, I mean, I would support something like that as well. I don't have a big problem with paying for a salary study every couple, 2 or 3 years. I mean, I don't have a big issue with that. I don't think we need to do it every year. Uh,
There are services that are out there that you can, that are reasonable. And they're sourced through reputable entities that participate in them. And you will get pay factors or pay scales that are matching these bands and this concept that you're talking about. And they're just subscription type services. And not only that, some of them offer opportunities where individuals can go in and type in their roles and responsibilities. And they can type in their pay as well. And it will cross validate a lot of the stuff and it will look at those things and it will identify what the pay scales could be. For those specific roles. To me, again, it's just something to keep at the forefront. If not, you will lose good people and you lose them fast.
Anyway, let's go to the last one. All right, moving along.
The only other thing I have, is our next meeting on April 14th. That's still good with everybody.
All right, let's move on to agenda item 8, Parkville feasibility study.
Yes, sir. So I put this on the agenda. We have a lot of new members, so just kind of wanted to give the board of new members a background of where we're coming from. We have been trying to look at either renovating the building or options of buying another building, completely tearing this one down and building another one. Michelle was nice enough to kind of give you all a snapshot from 24 to 26 of kind of the time frame and what has gone on. Park Hill did give us a feasibility assessment. I'm going to go through it on the PowerPoint just so y'all can kind of see what they were seeing when they went through this study. I'm not going to go through every chart, but just kind of give y'all an idea.
I'm sorry I couldn't get the color version sent to you. I tried really hard.
So here's our current building. To the north of it, there's a vacant lot, and to the west of it, there's two. There's not a house on one, but then there on the corner, there's a residential home. In his study, and forgive me if I don't have the answers, this was not my report, so this is population growth he is shown, Chris Casey is showing from Park Hill from 2014 to 2023 based off of the census and how much the population has grown. So here, this is gonna hold on. Okay, here we go. So first, we're going to start with parcel growth. District grows about 3,000 parcels per year. This is going out to 2030. The estimation, and this number right here in the middle of your screen is right, about right. 121,000 parcels is what we currently have. By 2030, we could have anywhere between 145,000 parcels to 132,000 parcels. This is projected growth again, based off of parcels. So forecasted growth for full-time employees. Right in the middle of the screen, basically the district grows about 1 employee per year with those 3,000 parcels that we gain per year. We're on track right now to have 45 employees in the year 2030. Going out to 2045, the range based off of the projection is between 67 employees and 49 employees. 49 is really low. So it's probably somewhere in between there. That's just the projection that he was giving in his report. And this is kind of putting everything together, full-time employees, parcels. Okay. So you already saw this. This is a layout of our current building. We're going to be right in the middle, that big room in the middle. At the top of your screen is all the cubicles where the appraisers sit. The bottom of the screen is going to be your admin hallway. And then the yellow all the way to the left is warehouse space that's not finished out at the back of the building. And here's just from information, photos of the building as it sits currently. So Mr. Casey came back, and this was his design. It's to finish out the warehouse that is in the back of our building and to add an addition to the back of the building. This gives us 5 ARB rooms where we have 3 ARB rooms currently right now. It's a big change. So option 1 is if we were able to acquire the 2 lots behind our office. A, where you see A in the red line, that would be the addition that they would add on to our building. And then extend the parking lot all the way to Castile Avenue. And that's just another view of option 1. So option 2 is not acquire those 2 lots, but the lot across Nacogdoches has been for sale. I think it's for sale for a little over $1 million. It's to acquire that for additional parking, but still finish out the warehouse and do an addition on the back of this building. And there's a view from the side of how that would turn out. Another photo. So what does that mean? His projected cost renovating and purchasing property, we're coming in right over $7 million. I mean, that's taking care of everything. Your interior, I mean, it's given a complete overhaul, additions, finishing out the warehouse.
Which option is this?
That's for both of them. Oh, that's for both of them.
So it includes the acquisition across the street and or.
Right.
Right.
One of the other two.
Or, it's probably or that one, right?
Right,
It's probably-
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got 950 in there for acquisition. That's probably 700 total, and that's probably right at a name, so 950 is probably good number.
I did have a conversation with Mr. Slepik about this. We did reach back out to Park Hill. They are willing, like we said at the last board meeting, they kind of gave us the Taj Mahal. They are willing to give us a kind of a 3-tiered option. More options that maybe aren't so in depth that would come with additional costs anywhere between $27,000 to $35,000.
Remains to modify our current space.
Current one and to give us 3 options, yes.
Give us 5 to 10 years, right?
Yeah, the time going out wouldn't be a 20-year estimation, it would be a shorter time
The
frame.
3 options we're just talking about staying in this building, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that's, at some point, we're gonna outgrow the facility. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about that. And the question of when is hard, it's hard to figure out.
We only have 3 cubicles open right now. So in 3 years, we won't have space for anybody unless we finish out the warehouse or figure out some other option.
We're trying to find somewhere else.
And boardrooms.
We did a little bit of looking. And that's not easy either, trying to find a place that would be, would work for us with the layout. We didn't have a whole lot of great success so far. We, reached out to a couple of real estate people to kind of look around for us a little bit to do that. The other thing, Mr. Miller came up with, maybe we should talk to the county. The county's in the process of looking at doing a bunch of additional justice centers and redoing the tax assessor and the voting office, elections office, and a bunch of other things. He suggested, maybe it'd be good if the CAD and the tax assessor collector's office were co-located, not combined, still 2 separate organizations, but say in the same building complex. And it seems to me there's something to be said for that. Of course, that would have to get us to work with the county. And then the real big thing with the county is, they're kind of like us, when. Because they've got to come up with the money to do it too, so, and does their schedule of when fit with our schedule of when? So there's some, I mean, all of this is got a lot of moving parts and seems to me to be fairly complicated. This is kind of an intermediate step maybe to ask them to come back and take a look and give us some more options on how to better utilize this building. I think you told me it could buy us another 5 years or so if we.
We could get probably another 5 years out of the current building.
Out of this building. I don't know, what do people think?
What future date would this design take you to as far as capacity based on would that take you to the 67?
Yeah, so it would take us out to 2045.
24.
Yes, sir.
67.
Yes, correct.
Eric, you probably have some knowledge of this downtown thinking about development, Castile and hotels, all this stuff, but there seems to be some thinking that the property around us is really gonna be worth a lot. Based on that kind of speculation, of course. I'm willing to pay what people think the property is gonna be worth based on that, but it does make me ask, how much is ours worth? All this speculation is true, then we got a much bigger piece of property here, whatever. I've always liked, I don't care, school district on, I've always liked taxing entities working together. They rarely do it. There are some that we talked about, the water district got a lot of money. And they're over the Bremer building, as you know. But they don't want to, do a lease or something like that. So you got us, you got the water district. So if you ever get somebody in the county to say, okay, we're gonna build this building out here, we're gonna double it, but we're gonna need you to put in X million, the water district put in X million. And the certainty of knowing where you can go is worth a lot of money. And this property is probably gonna be worth a lot. So we spent a lot of money on it. I don't know if we can get it back or, in the future. I would wish that somebody come buy it with you. And say, we really want to build on this big piece of property. And then
We got $50 million.
So I think we only paid 5.5 of this.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot. 467 or 465. It wasn't a lot.
Yeah. What's that? It's right around 5.5. It's 500,000. No, we had some money invested in remodel too.
Yeah. That was in 2010.
Yeah, seriously. So, but here, we used to be together or close to each other. We were in the landing building, as they call it, in the back under the porty shade. But I don't, under the current county plans, I don't think there's room for us in that remodel. Because what they're talking about doing is building a justice system, moving those courts over by the jail, but they've already got that building filled up. I mean, they're gonna move the tax office out of the tax office and demolish the tax office.
Well, that's where I would see us playing is whatever, I mean, cause and I don't know, I understand they did another study, so I'm probably out of date. But at one time they're talking about demolishing the tax assessor's office, going to where the elections office is and either demolishing that, and just building a nice 3-story building is what I saw. Or I guess an alternate would be to add.
And so people.
Add-ons to that over there. So where the tax assessor goes is where I would see us is trying to do what you're saying, get together and put us in the same building.
It usually doesn't work. It's great theory, but it's always going to be crazy. So under the current plan, they're gonna demolish the tax office. They're gonna move the tax assessor and the treasurer into the landing building. They need to create more office space for the DA's office. They're gonna demolish that, make that parking. Most likely demolish the elections office and make that parking. There's no parking for the employees. The people.
Well, jury duty.
Jury duty. And so, in fact, I think the tax office is scheduled to be a high-rise parking garage to the employees.
Yeah, I heard that too. They turn it over to the city and have the city build it. No?
I don't know if that's still, there was some talk about that, I think that was over the side. It was interesting, there was talk about that in our tax collector did want to move, so it'd be interesting if she goes what the decision is, so. I think those wheels are already in motion.
Mr. Couch, do you know what they're doing with the old Goodwin building that they're tearing down? What they're gonna do with all
That's
that,
gonna be
land?
parking.
That, all that's gonna
The
be.
good ones are, because. Yeah, the county's the same problem we have, another out of space, so you know, they've moved. HR's over there, IT's over there. And emergency services is there. And then they're tearing down that's gonna be parking. The tax office will stay downtown, they'll go into the building that's got the waterfall front.
Yeah, the old bank building.
Yeah,
For savings and loan.
do I?
So it used to be for savings and loan.
Yes, it did.
Jeffrey, the property across the street. Square foot wise is cheaper than the stuff around us in terms of asking prices and stuff, so.
Yeah,
Walking across the street, can't problem view.
I guess no.
it doesn't, I mean,
Market
it's,
downtown San Antonio, go to the courthouse.
it doesn't, it's not ideal. You know, if you go to Bear Appraisal District, they don't have any parking and all their employees have to pay for parking and they park on the street. Which that's not ideal either. I wouldn't want that for the staff, but that's fairly close, and if that's the only option, I don't think it's a bad option.
And for the new guys, parking is a pretty big issue for this building. I mean, the back parking lot, which is normally is employees, is pretty full, as I understand it. And as we continue to grow, there's just not enough parking spaces. And the front typically gets reserved for customers. And we'll get very busy in the summertime, obviously, when the ARB is meeting. So parking is kind of a big issue. But we gotta start thinking about, you know, which way do we wanna go with this? And we wanna stay here and expand or buy the property across the street. Pursue another building somewhere. And I don't, based on what we found so far, I'm not sure that's
It's not much.
that ain't gonna work, we're gonna have, and then, so you'd be looking for a place that you could build. And my guess is trying to find a vacant property and get enough space for us to build it on. It's gonna be like trying to find a building that we could use, not gonna work very well.
I think the most logical step next for us is if there's property available that we like, that's around us, we need to acquire it, regardless of what our long-term plan is. Because you go off what Rob says, and yes, there's a lot of development coming this way. You're just gonna increase our overall value of this, we decide something. We decide it's cheaper to stay here, we're gonna need, and that may not be available in
The future.
either that parcel next door or behind us. So I really think our first step, even if we don't have an immediate plan for it, is acquire it while we can at prices that are reasonable. That property's been on the market for a while, it's 4 tracks. I think we could probably make a reasonable offer and then finally accept it. Wish it didn't have frontage on Seguin, it'd be a little cheaper.
Yeah.
Or we could buy the whole 4 tracks and sell that front piece off.
There you go.
Keep it in 3. Keep some of our money.
You know,
I think that's what the issue is, though. It has frontage on Seguin, but you can't get to it from Seguin. You gotta go down Nacogdoches.
Yeah, as the road.
Yeah, you can't do
Which-
that, there's no way to get. to
For the
it.
district, wouldn't matter for us, cause we don't,
For us.
Yeah.
I mean, even though we just turn it into a big parking lot and expand this building out over our footprint here.
You know what? I'm good, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, then maybe do parking over there.
Yep.
I mean, that's an option.
One of the things we looked at too is what if we went up 2 stories on this building? And that's not feasible based on our foundation. So that's out. So on our addition, we could take it up 2 stories to help alleviate some of that pushback, leave a little parking back there, but on the existing, we're locked in.
Did y'all ever ask about the old police station behind the Hobby Lobby over there?
Oh,
there's a separate.
NBU has that.
Don't you this?
Yeah, NBU has that. Because there's
Not real big.
real big. It's not that big.
It's not, okay.
There's a lot of land out there, a lot of parking in the back. We also talk about trying to move that way, and then we talked about.
Yeah, well,
Over there.
we talk about a lot, man.
Yeah,
You know.
get closer to the other county line. I mean, honestly, very few properties in existence that would fit our needs. You've got some of the area around the old screw store that's there, but I mean, you know, if you wanted to go in and do a lease, you could probably lease some of that, but there's not much.
Well, because still, and even in part, it's we're probably gonna have to find a spot to move to temporarily, almost regardless of what we do.
Right.
Short of building a new building, I guess we could stay here then and just move all at once, but if we do anything that is building. It's probably gonna require us to move the operation somewhere else for some period of time. While this building gets done. And that's not easy either. And it's not something that we can afford to screw up because this is too critical part in this whole money thing. That the appraisal district can't afford to stop running for whatever set of reasons. It's gotta do its, you know, we've gotta do our job here. Otherwise, the whole,
What do we have in reserves right now? 300, 350 that we've done a holdback on?
Well, they're allocated, sir. We have a little over 900,000, right? They're just allocated to different.
I'm talking about, because we held
Just
back
for the
some
building?
this past year for the purposes of buying property. Right?
We've held back just over the last 2 years around $350,000, but we had some in capital money earmarked prior to that, and then we've got. I don't have the numbers directly in front of me, but the total is, like you said, around $950,000. I know we've kept, I think the previous year. We kept around 150 plus whatever was associated with income, and then this year we did 200 plus another 40, that 40 was associated with income. So you're correct there.
I mean, we owe just a little under 250 on the building now, correct?
Yeah, we'll have it paid off in 4 years, 5 years.
Yeah, it should be paid off, but I think their last payment's in 2020.
we know what they're asking for their property,
This one,
yeah.
$1 million.
I would suggest that, because of the nature of our conversation, we take advantage of, a discussion in April with the executive.
Yeah.
session, and, let the new member get acquainted, check back with the folks that did maybe a little more savings, and then decide kind of where to go with it.
Sure.
When we talk about strategy, we probably need to take advantage of the fact that we strategize privately, without revealing an open meeting or stuff.
Mr. Couch, so I actually have the investment summary from last session. Total and committed capital, we have just under 500,000. And then a little over 100 in litigation, about 65 in healthcare, 128 in just unassigned income. So that can really be, all of it can be adjusted wherever you want, but the 128 is in unassigned income. And then 118 is in the absences fund, totaling as of last session, 913.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so what I think I'm hearing is we wanna have an agenda item in our April meeting.
Well, let the new folks get acquainted with the work we've done, with the proposal. See if there's some possible money saving revisions or. Bring the number down, and then. It's a good time to talk about it. We've got 3 new board members. They need to be involved in helping us figure out what to do when we grow up and get bigger and.
So you want Park Hill to come in and talk with us from the last and the kind of sharpen their pencil?
Yeah, I'm going to order a revised assessment.
Well, they can do it to you. I mean, they can do it with you. You ask them what they might be able to save on, you know, an idea.
He's not gonna do a lot until we pay him, so.
Because that would be, I would see where we're headed is 2 steps. We wanna finance an additional look by them with the idea of kind of staying in this building. And then the second thing we're talking about is authorizing to start looking at purchasing a piece of property. And, how, and do we need, obviously, we're gonna need probably to authorize the piece of property if we think that's what we're gonna do. Think you may be right. I guess it's probably pretty safe because we could probably, if we have to sell it, we can always probably sell it. And even if we decide not to use it. I mean,
I think if you put either tracking use immediately, it's a parking lot.
right,
I mean, you're already parking in the street. Yeah. Well, that may not be a bad thing because if you don't get here early, you gotta park on the street. Make sure everybody's getting here on time.
Also parking in the front. And
Yeah,
complaining about my property before I come into work.
Get back to what you're saying, I'm still not sure what we wanna do in terms of the April agenda. Do you wanna have an agenda item to? Talk about potential price savings on this building, is that what you're getting at?
I think what he's recommending, and I don't speak on your behalf, but I think what he's saying is you got a lot of new minds in the room that. One, it's a public setting, it's in open meetings, I might not be willing to ask some of the dumb questions that are running through my head. But if I was in an executive session, I might be more willing to show my vulnerabilities. And I think the others might be in the same space, to where we could just have conversation.
Well, we can do that, I think, we can, that can be an executive session topic.
Especially if we're gonna talk numbers.
Yeah. You mentioned the 3-level is, you said the Taj Mahal, you referenced something like that. Was there other? What was the spread?
So that was the only one, what you just saw was the only study he gave us.
Okay.
The 3 options is with the additional funds, the 27 to 35,000, he would go back and do another study to give us 3 options. Kind of a tiered option-based selection.
Gotcha.
That wouldn't require the
All right, then let's
additional.
look at April. Let's look in April about doing an executive session to strategize on new building. And let's leave it at that for right now.
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, I'll beat this poor dead horse.
So we're not gonna order a reassessment right now, I mean, it later.
Yeah, we'll do
Okay,
that.
all right.
I mean, because that'll give the new guys a chance to go back through this.
Well, and you
Take a
can't,
look at it,
it's just discussion, it's not an action agenda item.
and then we'll, that strategy session, hopefully we'll come back with some thoughts about whether we want to have another look by Park Hill that spend that kind of money. And instead of focusing on, do we want to buy property somewhere?
Well, we can come out of executive session here.
They take action, right?
And take that
Then direction.
Right. Right.
Do you all have the color study?
It's not in color.
No.
No.
I
Do
thought
you want me
we
to
had
try
one.
to, do you want me to try to print it out while you're in the executive session? I can,
I have one, but I thought we had one electronic, that's what I was asking.
I couldn't send it, it was too big.
No, that's from the original, not here, but from the original, when they did that for us
Park Hill?
a year ago.
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, and she tried to email it, it's too big, so she couldn't email it. But Ryan might have 2 USBs, we could put it on one and they could go home with them.
Well, we can come up with a solution.
Well, even so, I'm not sure we need it today. I mean.
No.
Well, I'd like to have to do this.
Well, yeah, the study. I don't think we're gonna really talk about this. Yeah, we need to get, yeah.
Oh, okay, well, we can do it.
Ryan knocked out that executive session. We'll do that email to you.
All right. You want agenda item number 9, post executive session. The ordinary retired executive session anytime during the meeting is authorized in chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. And what else do I need here? All right, the board of directors on February 24, 2026, beginning at 6:44 PM, convene an executive session in accordance with chapter 551 of the Open Meetings Act. And if we need to take a couple minutes, if people need to